Kurt, we had another title match on WWE TV in the main event, another main event, and another non-finish, but it was big in some people's eyes and disappointing in others. It was the return of the Wyatt Six, just at the what felt like the moment of climax for the main event. How do you feel about the Wyatt Six? Catch us up on that, and what do you think about this as a finish to another WWE title match? We've been talking a lot about WWE main events not always having satisfying endings these days. This continued that pattern.
I thought it was a great cliffhanger. Funny enough, I was just thinking about the Wyatt Six today, about like how they've been gone for so long, and lo and behold, they come back tonight. But I know people are disappointed about the fact that we've been getting a lot of non-finishes with championship matches lately, and I get that. And in this case, I can understand why they're frustrated too. But the fact that we got such a hot finish that we did, I can't really complain. And also considering that Fraxium just debuted a few weeks ago and the Street Profits are kind of on a hot streak right now, I guess this was like a way to like not beat either one of them. So I can't really be mad at the finish in that sense either. And honestly, this main event, just specifically from those two teams and all the other teams that got involved afterwards, it shows the huge night and day difference between the tag team division on SmackDown and the tag team division on Raw. And it's like another prime example of how they messed up big time by having the Raw tag team match on WrestleMania, not the SmackDown tag team title match. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the SmackDown tag team division is really heating up. And the fact that they got the main event spot for the second time in a month really says a lot. And that finish that they had tonight, that hot finish with the Wyatts, really shows you that it's really in good hands. And it's a sign of things to come going into that summer. And I'm all here for it.
So you gave a lot of reasons why they would do a non-finish and why they would rationalize that people would be less upset, because of it. It's a really good match. Who are you going to beat? We don't want to beat either of them. And hey, we'll give them the Wyatt Six. Absolutely, it checks those boxes. But the thing is they do that so often now. There's so many instances where, hey, we're not going to be a brave booker. We're going to be a cowardly booker. We're going to take a cop out. We're going to do we're going to rationalize it. And we're going to have some fans are going to be okay with it. And we're going to give them as much as we can. Quality match, big return, whatever, big moments to try to dampen it. It's not that each time you can't rationalize or just even justify it. It's the totality of it. It's how often it's happening. And it's my argument. I'm not going to spend an hour on it tonight, I promise. But I do think this is going to condition fans when they are told there's a big match. It's not going to matter. It's a boy who cried wolf. They're going to go, okay, big match, but they're not going to want to beat either of those guys. They want to protect that guy, but they don't want to lose that guy to lose or that team to lose. And then you're going to imagine what the cop-out finish is going to be, and you're going to just train yourself to believe only on PLEs or you're more likely to get finishes. That's a trade-off. I mean, maybe Paul Levesque would argue, yeah, it's a trade-off, but, I'm willing to live with the consequences of it because I don't want to actually do finishes. But I think there's a downside to it. And I think when you announce a main event on TV, fans are going to kind of roll their eyes and be like, yeah, right. I'm going to invest in the moves and I'm going to say this is awesome. And I'll be excited, but I'm no longer getting excited about outcomes because I know they won't deliver.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I definitely get that argument. This is pretty much the second time this has happened this week. And yeah, there's a lot of frustration with that. There's also a lot of pointless, excitement for some of these main events, considering that we've been getting these kind of outcomes lately. But even more so tonight with the finish that we got Monday on Raw, we got a lot of fun endings and a lot of fun, shenanigans that went on despite those bad finishes. So there's kind of a give and take in that sense. Like there's a reason to be upset about the outcomes and about getting your hopes up for an outcome for nothing, but also at the same time for getting a hot finish that makes you look forward to the following week. So I guess you have to kind of take the good with the bad. And for me personally, I did not mind this at all.
Well, what they did is they teased it was going to be a DIY non-finish, like a run-in from DIY or MCMGs. And so in a way it was like, well, that would have been lame, and then they gave you the Wyatt Six with the lights out and a big return and big spots to close the show. I'm sure in Levesque's mind, he's like, well, this is delivering something extra special. We can absolutely get away with it. Now, Chris Johnson points out in the chat, I don't think the ending was because they were afraid of having a loser. It lets them extend the Fraxium quest to the belts. I'm okay with this one, but all the others make it worse. And that's the thing. I mean, it's not each one is awful. It's how often it's done that has a trade-off effect. Azan White says, why book the match in the first place if you don't want anyone to do the job? And I'm okay with not having a clean finish 100% of the time. I think you could experiment with that at some point and see what would happen. There is history where clean finishes have given a boom to a territory or a company. But you can see they're bending over backwards to try to be creative. But this idea that, well, I want Fraxium's title chase to be extended. Well, I mean, you can extend it in other ways, including having them lose and then re-earning a future title shot. That's a little bit more sports-like. So anyway, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I wasn't forecasting or expecting the Wyatt Six to return. So, I mean, I think it's cool and it's a good talking point. But, you know, the way Levesque books, I wasn't surprised he did a non-finish on TV. Kurt, what do you think about the Wyatt Six? Like, what does this set up? Did it seem focused on the Street Profits, or was it this more focused on we're just in the mix, who knows what we'll do next?
I think the latter. I think it's more focused on like just going through the whole roster and just causing a bunch of destruction and causing a bunch of chaos like they did when they debuted last year. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's hard to say. Like I'm happy for it tonight. I'm happy that we got what we got tonight, but only time will tell if they really capitalize on it. Because I remember Alexa Bliss came back at the Royal Rumble. Everybody was so excited about it, all happy about it. And then within a month, she was already gone again. I mean, it's great that she's back now and all that, but at the same time, it's kind of like, how much should I really get invested in this when there's a chance that this person might not be around in the next month or so, or the next 2 months or so. So I'm happy for it tonight, but I'm not going to really get my hopes up too high. I'm going to give it time to see where it goes, if something even comes out of it, and then I can give like an actual opinion about it. But until then, I'm at least happy with what we got for now.
Well, you said why invest in it because they might not be around for long. And my first thought is, we're still talking about why we shouldn't invest in TV main events because there won't be finishes. I mean, what you're feeling about the fact that this could disappear again, and it's lowering your anticipation or hopes or investment in it is exactly what I think is going on with WWE main events when the stakes are high, but you're not going to see a finish. What is the benefit of the Wyatt Six being gone for a while, coming back full strength, setting aside the pattern of too many non-finishes, just a big moment to close out a SmackDown. To me, it generates some buzz. Does it generate buzz that does anything other than build anticipation for what do they do next? Is there something specific that you think fans are like tonight's main event next week, or maybe they're going to interrupt the John Cena promo, or is there anything that you think we should expect or anticipate being next with them?
The main thing I can maybe think of is a match for the tag titles against the Street Profits at SummerSlam, since SummerSlam is like the next major event that's coming up within the next few months that they could build towards. The biggest thing I could see them doing within now and then is possibly like a match, with the Street Profits. As far as interrupting Cena, that would be cool, but I don't really see it going in that direction. I don't think it's kind of like the right fit. And as far as they go, it was a great appearance for them. I'm happy that they're back. It's been 6-7 months since the last time we've seen them. So hopefully this leads to something. Hopefully they're actually around for the long haul, and hopefully this wasn't just like a thing just to give us like a ratings boost, or a thing to just throw us a bone, considering that they weren't going to give us a finish tonight. And we'll just see where it goes from there. But just a great return from them tonight, and hopefully it's a consistent return that actually leads to something that we can actually get invested in and not be ripped off by it. Yep.
Well, some more comments here in the chat. Ryan Solorio says if Fraxium lost, it would have been 1-1, so they could have had a rubber match. Chris Johnson said they certainly have shown they aren't afraid to job the Street Profits. And BJF said with Raw non-finishes, I've not been invested in the match. I've just been waiting for the non-finish and shenanigans. Tonight I expected an actual finish, so I was surprised and entertained with a surprise. So BJF talked himself into being surprised because he was expecting a non-finish, or he was expecting a finish and didn't get it. I guess that's one way to look at it. You can maybe talk yourself into something that makes you be okay with it in the end. So with I was going to pull up another chat here, but just Squared Circle Society podcast said I thought it would be a DIY non-finish, and I was half right. BJF, this is what I wanted to find. BJF said earlier, loved the ending. It was so hot and unpredictable. But of course, it would have been better if there had not been so many non-finishes. But overall, I'm good with it, and the match was great too. What do you think about Fraxium, by the way, as an act? I mean, they have pushed them at this point, even though they haven't won the tag titles. Have they pushed them harder than they did when the Motor City Machine Guns first showed up? Like in terms of just touting how exciting they are and what up and coming stars they are.
I would say yes. I remember one of them faced Gunther like during the European tour a few months ago, and even from that, I kind of saw that there was something there with them. And then they've only been on the main roster for a month now, and they're already main eventing the show. Yeah, that's definitely a good sign of things to come. Mm-hmm. Yeah, within 1 month of main eventing SmackDown in the tag title picture, already getting a victory over the tag team champions. Yeah, it's clear that they have big plans for them. And hey, they deserve it. They're a good team. They really spice up the tag division on SmackDown. They're really showing the potential that the tag division has overall between both shows. And yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, as far as them winning the tag titles, they don't really need to win them right now, but just for them to be in the mix and them to be a part of the show and them to be kind of like in the position they're in now, if you're a fan of theirs, you can't complain. You can't be anything but happy at the moment.
All right. Well, let's pause and introduce ourselves in the show, and then we'll get on to reviewing more aspects of this show on the eve of Saturday night's main event on NBC. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show on Friday, May 23rd, 2025. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show. I'm the editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch Weekly newsletter, the website, PWTorch.com, and a host of a variety of podcasts. Earlier today, Eric Kroll from PWTorch joined me. We previewed AEW's Double or Nothing, not the easiest sequence of words to say. That's coming up Sunday night. We did an hour, 15-minute roughly preview, just went over the whole show, talked about the build and predictions for the matches. And then we also had the Tony Khan media call, the media Q&A, where PWTorch's Brian Zillum submitted a question. And Jason Paul asked a good question. A bunch of good topics brought up about the pay-per-view specifically and other AEW topics. Tony Khan talking about his first ECW arena experience too, which was fun to listen to him talk about that. So that is on our Blue brand, the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Podcast. There are two Wade Keller podcast feeds. The one named the Wade Keller Podcast, which is our blue logo show that features a weekly flagship, which included Greg Parks and I talking for about an hour about AEW and an hour about WWE earlier this week, along with some other topics. And then our red logo show, which is this one, the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show. That is, the blue show is not on YouTube. The red one is in part our post-Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown shows. We stream live on YouTube. You can watch and stream them there. You can get the full lineup of all of our shows on the red brand by searching Wade Keller in your podcast app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever, Android or iOS are the places where there are plenty of podcast apps that you can search Wade Keller and subscribe. And then while you're at it, search PWTorch to subscribe to the PWTorch Daily Cast, a different show each day of the week, including the Acknowledging WWE podcast hosted by Javier Machado with a variety of co-hosts each week. A new episode of that up late this week. We also have the 90s Past Cast with Patrick and Alex, who review a Pro Wrestling Torch Weekly newsletter from 30 years ago that week, reading cool things that were written back at that point in real time by me and other writers for the Torch. You get kind of walk through wrestling history and also hear their take on how we covered it at that time in our pre-internet era in the mid-90s. Again, it's the 30 years ago anniversary. So much more great content on the PWTorch Daily Cast, so check that out when you get a chance. But we're here to talk SmackDown, and we welcome you to join the conversation if you're watching us live on the PWTorch YouTube channel. We have a chat, and we keep an eye on it. We've already put some on the screen and read them to our podcast listeners. So join us in the chat if you're watching us live. If you're not watching us live, you can find the link to our live shows in my TV reports at PWTorch.com every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night. You can also email the show if it's more convenient for you, especially if you can't watch us live, wadekellerpodcast@gmail.com. And you can also call us as a VIP member or Patreon supporter. Details on that in my VIP report on the TV shows on the VIP website or on our Patreon page. The co-host today is Kurt Cadet. He is a PWTorch contributor. Kurt, you are a podcaster on the PWTorch lineup and also do some writing for us. Talk about that.
Yes, I've been writing weekly reviews for Monday Night Raw about the feuds on Monday Night Raw since November. And I occasionally co-host this show. And as of the last few months, I've been co-hosting a show with Christopher Adams, who you've seen on this show before. We have a show called Catching the Culture, where we talk about different movies and specific wrestling events and wrestling angles that happen around the same time frame. And this coming week, we're going to be doing our episode about planes, trains, and automobiles in the 1987 Survivor Series. So that episode is going to be interesting. We're going to be recording that tomorrow morning. I also co-host a podcast called Clash of Champions. You can find on YouTube and Spotify, etc. And yes, I've been contributing for PWTorch the last 6 months. It's been a great experience, and I look forward to bringing more content to you guys in the coming months.
Cool. Kurt, always great to talk WWE with you. Love your enthusiasm and your passion and your recall, which is better than mine for dates and events, and it comes through in everything you do for us. So great to have you on tonight. Ryan Solorio notes, AOL is dead, Wade, LOL. Yeah, that's what happens when I try to say iOS and Android at the same time. After trying to say AEW, double or nothing, and tripping over that. It could be one of those nights. We'll see. A couple other comments on our opening topic here. Sean Dennehy says, I was fully into the match and hoped for an actual finish, but I was more annoyed that when the Wyatts interfered, the crowd cheered and waved their phones along with the song. That is part of what's happening now. As Standard Deviation says, when you condition the audience that matches don't matter, you get "We Want Tables" chants at the beginning of every match. And this is awesome chants instead of people popping for kickouts and near falls. On the bright side, I guess, Kurt, they have conditioned their audience that they are there to be entertained, and see cool moves and see run-ins and DQs and angles. And, it's not important. In the product, the fans are not watching this product because they need finishes at the end of the shows. I still think it's risky. As Mark Paschetti says, Wade talked about the canary in the coal mine with Raw's finish, saying he feels it could be a marking point for decline. This show was just as bad. Texas said, I honestly felt like throwing things in frustration.
Come on now.
Azan White said another bullshit finish, but a good show. I think there's more people are expressing rage and frustration with the finish of the main event. The content of the show, though, Kurt, you're endorsing.
Yeah, the show overall was pretty good. I mean, we had progression for Money in the Bank. I would say probably other than the main event, the best match was the Jacob Fatu and Jeff Cobb match with Jimmy Uso and Rey Fenix. But yeah, overall, it wasn't a bad show. Still doesn't need to be 3 hours long, but it was still pretty good for the most part. And yeah, I mean, is what it is. Look, I mean, sometimes we get finishes like this with the TV format and things along those lines. Sometimes you're going to get finishes like that. I'm not happy that it's been happening so often lately.
Yeah.
I would probably expect a lot of it to happen tomorrow night, considering it's a Saturday night's main event. But it just comes with the territory sometimes. You're not always going to get like a full finish or a full outcome. And a lot of the times that builds to whatever the full outcome will be later on. So that's how they keep you watching.
Yes. Well, you're justifying and rationalizing something that has killed some companies and territories over the years by breaking faith that fans have in main event matches. I mean, at some point, if you promise a main event, you want the majority of them to reward you for your investment in the moves and near falls and not totally condition you. I think there's a number of people who will be less likely to watch and be invested in the product if the company treats it as normal and okay that the vast majority of TV main events don't end with a pinfall or submission. I mean, I think you're just you're playing with fire there with people when you do that. I mean, you say you're training them to come back for more, but at some point, there can be, you go back to the late 80s and the Road Warriors trying to get the NWA tag team titles, and they killed Chicago with one screwjob finish after another.
Starrcade 87, right? I think I heard about that story before.
Yeah, well, there was a house show in Chicago. I think it was a house show in Chicago, actually, that was kind of even after that led to a big drop in attendance because fans are like, we're tired of being screwed over. I mean, there's I told this last week, Hulk Hogan won the AWA title from Nick Bockwinkel back in 83 and 83.
Yeah, 83.
Yeah, and he celebrated with the belt. People went home thinking, their hero Hulk Hogan won the equivalent of the Stanley Cup of wrestling, and then they announced it on the TV show. No, it's been taken from him.
Another example, when Dusty Rhodes beat Ric Flair at Starrcade 85 after the whole Hard Times speech and all that, he beat him.
Yep.
It looked like he won the belt, and then they just switched it right afterwards. And Dusty didn't win it until the summer after, not even televised.
Yep. I mean, and there were reasons for all those. Vern didn't trust Hogan would lose the title back, and he didn't trust he would stay with him. He wasn't under contract at that time. If I give him a win over Bockwinkel and Hogan leaves. what happens to the prestige of the title, and Nick Bockwinkel then did a job to it. I mean, you can rationalize all that. I'm not saying every booker and promoter hasn't done it because they think it's good for business. They did it because they felt it was the lesser of two evils. I'm just saying at some point you got to be a brave booker and condition your audience to be okay with wrestlers losing, as opposed to conditioning them to think you're there to be entertained by moves, but the finishes don't. The finishes are not only not guaranteed, they're actually unlikely. So anyway, let's shift gears to R-Truth's promo tonight.
Oh, yes.
So one thing, someone in the chat was complaining about the what chants and was mad at the fans. Chris Johnson said, I thought the highlight of tonight's show was R-Truth's promo. The what chants are so distracting and make me hate the live crowd. You got to blame R-Truth. He, at the beginning, basically wouldn't cut up. He wouldn't continue unless they started chanting what. There was a moment when you could tell he was actually encouraging it, and then they went along with it. It was usually wrestlers are annoyed by it, but R-Truth seemed comforted by it. So that was one aspect of it. At least Truth wanted it. It's something that wasn't screwing up his train of thought like it does for other wrestlers. But yeah, Truth just said it was what I thought was hinted about the last time he talked about what Cena did to him after the last pay-per-view, put him through a table. He has come to the realization, he's not oblivious to it, that something is different about Cena. And he said he wants to beat the hustle, loyalty, and respect back into him on Saturday night. Kurt, what do you think of the R-Truth promo and really just the overall build to this match tomorrow night?
I think the promo was good. It definitely shows what R-Truth can do if he's given the opportunity to be less ridiculous and less funny and more serious. Although he was still funny in some parts and you kind of couldn't take it fully seriously. I definitely saw something there where you just say to yourself, yo, this guy is good on the mic. This guy can actually really talk if you let him actually talk and tell a compelling story. So, yeah, I enjoyed that. I mean, the build to this match has been, is what it is. At the end of the day, it's a Saturday night's main event match, a non-title match at that. So, as great as R-Truth's promo was and all that, I think we all know how this one is going to end.
What do you think about the journey that R-Truth has been on? They made him look like he didn't see what everybody else saw, and then now suddenly he has. Has there been enough of a transition to R-Truth realizing it? Maybe it doesn't even matter that much. I mean, we have landed where we need to be for R-Truth to actually go after Cena in a way where he is full of hope, but also connected to the reality of the situation. Has it been done with the necessary steps, or does it feel kind of sudden and jarring, which some people have noted?
I think they could have maybe stretched it out a little bit longer, but considering that John Cena put him through a table at Backlash, at the press conference, I think that's more than enough motivation for R-Truth to be mad at him and want revenge. So in that sense, I think it works. I think it's, been good for what it is. Like I said, it's a Saturday night's main event match, a non-title match. So it didn't really need that much time to be built. And I mean, realistically, did you really want to see this match on a PLE at Money in the Bank? So I feel like they gave it enough time for, the position that R-Truth's in. And tomorrow night, I don't really expect much out of this match as far as being a 5-star classic, but I do think it'll be fun for what it is. And I definitely think that John Cena is going to put R-Truth in the hospital, circa to what Gunther did to Jimmy Uso. That's kind of what I see maybe happening tomorrow night in that match.
Will that work?
To watch.
Will putting a brutal beating on R-Truth, perhaps sending him to the hospital, will people take it seriously? Will it get Cena some serious heel heat? Or is R-Truth too much a comedy figure and Cena hasn't been tongue-in-cheek, but there's been aspects of this heel turn that sort of feel like wink, play along a little bit with the audience because they're just chanting pro and anti and pro Cena chants at the same time. Let's go Cena sucks. The same people are chanting this sometimes. Is there room for Cena's heel turn to resonate as more serious with a big part of the audience? Is tomorrow night an opportunity for that?
Huge opportunity. If he could beat the hell out of R-Truth mercilessly and heartlessly, yeah, he'll definitely get some heat off of that. And I'm not ready for him to turn babyface yet. I think he still needs to have a match with CM Punk before he turns babyface again. So we still need some time to build to that. So with that being said, yeah, he definitely needs to do something to R-Truth tomorrow night where he gets as much heat as he's had since he turned heel. And yeah, you could definitely build a lot off of that. Because, yeah, R-Truth, everybody likes R-Truth, regardless of whether or not you take him seriously or anything along those lines. Everybody likes him. He's a hard person to root against. So if John Cena, really just lets him have it tomorrow night, I don't see anybody cheering that. And if they do cheer that, then there is something seriously, seriously wrong with them.
What comes next for Cena? He's going to be on SmackDown next week. They announced that, so he'll be talking about Saturday night's main event. But then, what's next for him?
I actually heard something today about what potential match he could be in at Money in the Bank. So for next week for SmackDown, I think I know what it's going to be.
I'd like to stay away from spoilers on the show. So if somebody's reporting something that hasn't happened in the narrative yet, that's sort of like saying, hey, I got a for me, for my audience, they trust that I'm not going to say, I got a preview copy of the season finale of this TV series for next week. Let me tell you what's on it. I think people want to watch and see it play out. So I will retract that question because you think you know. And so it's hard to get you to that speculation.
I won't give it away.
Yep. Very good. What, with Cena in general and the push that he has, do you think this, I guess you sort of answers, but is facing R-Truth on Saturday night's main event a worthwhile use of one of John Cena's limited dates? Is there enough history there with R-Truth being a stand for, a super fan of, a mark for John Cena? Are you happy that this is one of the matches, or do you think you look at this and go, it's fun, you could have done a TV storyline, but if you're going to have something on Saturday night's main event and Peacock as a big special PLE event, not the biggest, but it's still a branded weekend event, would you rather actually have it be maybe even a short-term feud with somebody who's more serious, even if it doesn't seem like the person would necessarily be a threat to take the title?
I think it's fine. I think Saturday night's main event is the perfect setting for this kind of match, because after watching the last few Saturday night's main events we've gotten since they brought it back, I've kind of learned to see it as more of a house show with a bigger budget.
Right.
So yeah, something like this for a show like Saturday night's main event, it's fine. It could have worked on SmackDown also, but something like Saturday night's main event, like I said, it works fine for what it is. I would have had a problem if they did it at a major PLE like at Money in the Bank or God forbid SummerSlam. So yeah, something like Saturday night's main event where it doesn't really matter. Chances are you're not going to get a major title change or a lot of crazy angles going on anyway. Yeah, I think a place like that, it works perfectly.
Some chat comments about R-Truth and Cena. Standard Deviation said it's a missed opportunity not to have Cena humor Truth for a while before bloodying him, in my opinion. Azan White said R-Truth and John have a deep-rooted history. And Ryan Solorio says, fun fact, R-Truth has a winning record on John Cena. Can you in your mind reimagine and would you rebook the Truth Cena story in either in tone or with something that wasn't just an angle after a PLE that then got referenced on a TV show later on?
I would have maybe started this around the time of WrestleMania, in the weeks building to WrestleMania, have some backstage skits between Cena and R-Truth where R-Truth is questioning Cena's actions and behavior, saying, oh, I used to look up to you. You were my hero. What are you doing? I can't believe you're doing this. And then John Cena kind of just brushes him off, talks down to him or whatever. Mm-hmm. They could have maybe built that up over the last few weeks before eventually it got backlash what happened there. But like I said, it's just a random Saturday night's main event match. It's fine for what it is. And who knows, there's possibly a chance it couldn't be over from here. It could possibly extend longer and they could have a main event match on SmackDown in a few weeks. But unless that happens,
I think... running.
Yeah.
A transition to the next feud, but no finish.
Maybe Road Dogg will make a comeback and him and R-Truth could team together again for old time's sake.
If Cena R-Truth needs to have a finish, I mean, R-Truth can afford to lose. Yes. Standard Deviation said putting him through a table at the press event and then not showing up on TV is a terrible use of the years of character work Truth put into this moment. I get what Standard Deviation is saying, and I asked the question for a reason because I think they could have done a little bit more with this. But R-Truth's getting a match against John Cena's retirement tour on national free broadcast NBC television, simulcast on Peacock. I mean, it's one of 4 or 5 matches on that show. It is. I mean, that's more than I thought they would get out of R-Truth and Cena. Could they have gotten more? Sure, in terms of kind of telling a story, but they are kind of working around Cena's availability too. There's only so much you can do, but I guess I kind of would have liked if it worked out for Cena to cut a promo on R-Truth.
From a movie set, from his movie set or something.
Yeah. Just how does he feel about him? I mean, I think that would help sell the match too. Yeah.
I have a feeling R-Truth is going to make a cameo on the new season of that show, The Peacemaker, that Cena has like now the way it's looking now.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else on Cena Truth that you want to bring up?
I think we said enough about it. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's a Saturday night's main event match. It's cool for what it is. I'm not expecting really anything too crazy out of it, unless Cena like beats the hell out of R-Truth and puts him in the hospital. Yeah, it's just basically like nothing to write home about.
Yep. All right. So let's shift to the opening segment. We had Tiffany Stratton coming out, and then Alexa Bliss, and then finally Charlotte. My issue with this, again, is the continuation of putting wrestlers who fans like in situations where they end up with mixed feelings about them. Mm. And people want to like Tiffany, but Tiffany just said that Alexa Bliss along with Charlotte are vintage, meaning you're old, I'm new. That makes me better. That seemed like a heel line. And the fans didn't seem to like it because I think people who like Tiffany also like Alexa Bliss. So this is a situation where if you have Alexa and Tiffany arguing and Tiffany still hasn't, this isn't like 5 years of Tiffany as a top star on one track and 5 years of Alexa on as a top star on another track, and they're finally crossing paths with big stakes. It's just a throwaway segment to build up Money in the Bank. I don't throwaway is overstating it. It's understating, I guess, a better way to put it. But I don't know. I think that, again, each individual instance you can justify, but there's so much of that where wrestlers that fans want to like end up talking about each other in a way where you sort of feel like you have to take sides, or you think about them in a way that you wouldn't before. I thought Tiffany especially just came across as kind of young and almost like an online troll more than a proud champion, although there were aspects of her promo that were proud champion too. Charlotte was fine, being a heel, but you also had a little sympathy for her because she's out there with two other people taking shots at her in a 2-on-1 situation. So it was good that they talked about the dynamic between them. They're laying the stage for Money in the Bank. There's so many wrestlers in that match. Of course, not everybody's going to get along in a team versus team way, babyface heel. I get that. But I did think I could use more time of a lack of confusion with Alexa and especially a lack of mixed signals with Tiffany so fans can just unite behind rooting for them and they can be on separate tracks. When you put them together and you have them bicker and argue and undercut each other, sometimes in ways that seems immature or cheap shots, I think it can make the baby faces you're supposed to cheer for and look and want to see win and make you look at them differently. What do you think about that take, Kurt?
I mean, I think she said what she needed to say because she's the champion and Alexa's trying to confront her, even though Alexa's a babyface also, and not to mention Charlotte. So I feel like she came off as good as she could be considering that, dynamic. I just really like that line, honestly, where she said, "You two are the standard, but I'm the upgrade." I honestly got a kick out of that line. And overall, more than anything, I just look at her a lot differently now ever since WrestleMania. Between her and Io Sky, I definitely look at both of them as like two of like the top women in the company, like on the same level of Charlotte, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, you could throw in there too. Yeah, I feel like she's definitely like a much bigger star now than she was like at the beginning of the year when it started. And I feel like she's only going to progress even higher as the year goes on. I mean, as far as Alexa winning Money in the Bank, I don't think that's going to happen. But, considering that it's coming up and they have 3 hours to kill on this damn show, I mean, it made sense to kind of like tease that possible match that it could possibly happen. And as far as Charlotte goes, to be honest, I felt bad for her for like the way the audience was reacting to her and how like really like relentless and vicious they were towards her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it kind of felt like borderline uncomfortable to the point where like it doesn't really feel like good heat. It feels more like go away heat. Like there's a difference between the heat that Charlotte Flair gets and also the heat that somebody like Nia Jax gets. So yeah, it definitely like felt that way in that sense in that segment. And yeah, for whatever reason, ever since she came back, I can't really think of like a real classic, incredible match that she's had. And I hope she's able to turn that around soon, honestly.
Elaborate more on, as a viewer of WWE, the difference between good heel heat for Charlotte and heel heat that makes you feel like Charlotte is not, like getting booed as a heel should be gratifying. You're doing your job, getting catcalls and heckled, having people yell at you online if you're online. That, in general, means you're doing your job as a heel. What is it that does make it different with Charlotte that you think affects her in a way that makes you feel bad for her? And maybe also, perhaps it's through not just the fans, but makes the baby faces, to some people, look like they're piling on.
I just feel like it's just been so many years of her doing the same character, being kind of like forced down people's throats. And it's just gotten to the point after like a decade of all of this, people are sick of it. And yeah, she just, I guess, gives that unlikableness vibe just when she talks and just the way she comes off. So I guess it's kind of like just Charlotte fatigue. It happens. I go through that with like different music artists to
Hmm.
the point where like I don't want to hear their music anymore, no matter how good they are.
Yeah.
And I just feel like maybe the audience has gotten that way towards Charlotte, where it's just been so long. She has so many championships, and yeah, she like's gone for a year, and then she's like comes back on these damn yachts, on these damn like boats, talking about how like she's coming back and like she wants to like redeem herself. And yeah, you just can't relate to somebody like that in those kind of scenarios. You're like, I don't want to cheer this person. This person's trying to act like they're better than me. So yeah, it's just kind of the point where it's gotten to with Charlotte now, where it's just like not interesting anymore, and they just need to do something to change her or put her in some kind of interesting storyline where it seems like it's going now with Alexa Bliss. Because yeah, this same old Charlotte coming out with the robes, doing the woos, doing the same thing her dad does, and all this. Yeah, it's just not interesting anymore. It's really not, and I can't blame the audience for reacting to her that way. But at the same time, it is kind of uncomfortable to see the way she gets treated in those situations.
What would you do differently going back in time and part two, starting now, to try to fix things? To get things on a track where you could say we'll turn her babyface. That could be, there could be a headwind there. Yeah, exactly. Or to get her the type of heel heat where you're not distracted by feeling like there's something cruel happening that's affecting Charlotte. I'll add Derek Hubbard's comment from the chat. I do feel bad for Charlotte. Her confidence is shaken. You can see it when the bell rings. She is not sure-footed in her movements. It feels like she's thinking and rehearsing instead of performing. She even got off to a rocky start on the mic tonight. When she walked out, she had a couple false starts. I don't know if that's because of heckling in the crowd or she's trying to remember what to say, but do you think there's something to that? And I mean, what is the solution to what you're perceiving as a problem? And I get why you perceive it as a problem. I'm not ruling out that it is, but I want to downplay a little bit the notion that a heel getting heckled by fans in a believable way where you start believing that the fans really don't like this person. It should, generically speaking, actually be the goal. The goal shouldn't be in a wink nod way. I like to boo this person, but I know I would really like them. But I know there's more going on here, and that's what I want you to kind of speak to.
I think one thing that would help would be, let's say, with this whole Alexa Bliss thing, where like Alexa Bliss maybe gives her a makeover where she starts like dressing like Alexa Bliss and has like her own little doll and like kind of like starts to like adopt some of those mannerisms where she kind of like I guess becomes like a new version of herself or finds herself in a sense. I feel like if something like that were to happen, where like Charlotte kind of like opens up and says, I don't like the way things are going right now. I don't feel like myself anymore. And like she goes to Alexa Bliss saying, Can you help me? Can you help me get out of this like little funk I'm in? I'm not saying she would be like in the title picture or anything, but it would be a nice switch in her character. It would be something new to, feed off of, something new to really kind of like play off of. So yeah, I think like definitely something like that would help her. It would be something new for her to do. It would be something new for the audience to see her do. And yeah, who knows? It could turn out to be something good, and it could get the audience maybe more behind her again and maybe make her more relatable. That's another thing we've talked about on this show before about Charlotte Flair. She just does not come off relatable. And maybe something like this will help her become more relatable and maybe get the audience to accept her more.
What do you think of Alexa Bliss in general? And what do you think what is the totality and purpose of the interaction we saw last week and this week between her and Charlotte? Where is it heading? And do you like this use of Alexa Bliss?
I do like this use of Alexa Bliss, considering that she was like, nowhere to be found after Elimination Chamber. Now she's like in a storyline with Charlotte where they're having all these different interactions with each other, including tonight. It was so funny where she says to Charlotte, "Oh, I'll see you in the Money in the Bank." "Oh, yeah, that's right. You didn't win." Yeah, it was great. Yeah, so I hope they really like build off of this over the next few weeks. And yeah, Alexa Bliss, I've always thought has been a great character ever since she was in NXT, when she was on SmackDown those first few years, when she was like the SmackDown Women's Champion. I always said that she was a great character, great on the mic, and she continues to prove that almost a decade later. Yeah, she's definitely like I'm not gonna say like the best like in ring performer out of all the women, but from a character standpoint, she always nails it. And somebody like that is valuable, and you should always make good use of them, regardless.
How categorize where Alexa is at this stage of his career, at this stage of her career in the context of other women? Is she a top tier woman who the WWE bookers, Paul Levesque, should want fans to consider possibly being a centerpiece act who could hold the top title? Or is she on a different track as a legacy star, kind of in more, mixing with top women and entertaining in doing so, but it's not going to be her time to actually have any kind of sustained run truly in main events?
Yeah, I would say the second one. I think she like definitely has her part. She's definitely a valuable part of the show, but she doesn't need to have like a year-long title reign or be like in marquee matches or anything along those lines. I think the role she's in right now is perfect, and you could definitely get a lot of good out of it.
Yep. Very good. So we had the Charlotte Zelina Julia match, which Julia won in 13 minutes. It was, some star power there with Charlotte. I think astute viewers would expect Zelina Vega to be the designated jobber of that match, like Josh Alexander or Wheeler Yuta in matches. I mean, you just, sometimes you get that identity. But that said, what did you think about the match quality, the story they told, and what do you think about Julia so far? And we talk about people who, talk about how Fraxium are being portrayed as like super exciting up and coming stars. I mean, Julia's getting that treatment in terms of how she's being talked about and framed and featured.
Yeah, I think she's doing good so far. Like I noticed the crowd didn't really react to her much tonight. I definitely like noticed like a silence, but yeah, she's very good in the ring. I kind of predicted that she would win considering that she just got called up to the main roster and Roxanne Perez just won the Money in the Bank on Raw. So, and they had that little tag team a couple weeks ago, and like now they split up. So like now they're gonna have like some kind of confrontation in the match. So that kind of made sense for her to win here. Yeah, I think she definitely has a lot of potential, a lot of upside, and it was smart to split them up. So like, SmackDown has an extra girl and Raw has an extra girl. But if out of her and Roxanne Perez, if I had to pick either one who I could see shining in the next few months, I think it's going to be Roxanne Perez, especially considering that she's like now involved with the Judgment Day. And it seems like they're going to do like another love triangle storyline involving her, Dominic, and Liv Morgan. So yeah, I'm all for all that. But yeah, Julia's great. Julia definitely has a lot of upside, and I like her presentation.
It definitely seems like a turning of the page. I mean, I know Charlotte's around, Becky's around, Bayley may or may not be, and obviously Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks is elsewhere, but there is a changing of the guard. And we're a year and a half from now. Let's look ahead, Kurt. How deep is that core top group? It doesn't have to be four. We talk about the four a lot, but there are some other people in the mix at different times, kind of like the pillars in AEW of young up and coming stars. It wasn't always just four. Sometimes there was somebody else who you think should be in there. But what a year and a half from now, who makes up the top tier of the women's division in WWE on both brands? Not NXT, but Raw and SmackDown.
Stephanie McCoy, I think that's one person. Also, Roxanne Perez, I definitely see it now, considering that the year that she's having so far. I think Rhea will still be in the mix. Definitely Rhea. And his fourth one is tough. His fourth one is very tough. I think Stratton. I think Stratton's still in that mix too.
Yeah. Do you consider them in really good shape?
Yeah, definitely. I see, like, especially Tiffany Stratton and Io right now. I feel like both of them have really like had great years so far, and like they've really elevated to that next level. And I think Roxanne Perez is going to catch up to them soon. And yeah, Julie could get there eventually, but I definitely see Stephanie Valkyrie when she gets to the main roster, and Roxanne Perez. Those are the top two out of any of the women from NXT. Those are the top two I see, like, being in that title picture in the next year or so.
So some votes in the chat. BJF says Jordan Grace, Roxanne, Stephanie, and Rhea.
And honestly, I think Roxanne Perez is going to win Money in the Bank.
Okay.
Yeah,
yep. It would not shock me. Derek Mitchell says Dom might go into the Hall of Fame for his love interest with Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, and Roxanne Perez. Standard Deviation, by the way, says I agree with Kurt, so got a vote there. Let's see. Brock Benningfield says Roxy for sure. Standard Deviation said Julia felt fresher tonight than a few weeks ago. Her moveset needs attention, though. That neck twist move was bad. And And Brock Benningfield says, don't forget Vaquer. Dwayne Carpenter says, for Julia, how much of the initial pop that you get is based on your music hitting? Honestly, I had no idea it was her at first, not recognizing her music yet. That is a big factor, by the way. I mean, having music that fans pop for is a valuable part of your arsenal if you want to be perceived as over, Kurt.
Yeah, definitely. They need to do something about their theme music these days. These Def Rebel songs, yeah, they're not really hitting at all. Like, you can barely tell who it is. You could barely tell who's coming out. I just remember back in the day, like whenever somebody's music hit, whether it be Stone Cold Steve Austin's Glass Shattering or Hulk Hogan's music or the If You Smell from The Rock, like you automatically had that reaction. But nowadays, with a lot of these themes, like you don't really get it as much anymore. I guess Tiffany Stratton got it tonight with the whole It's Tiffy Time thing, so that kind of helps. But yeah, they need to do something about these damn theme songs because it is not popping at all.
Derek Hubbard said, I've not seen much in Julia. She's graded on the Japanese women curve where everybody pretends she is good, but she lacks urgency and natural emotion. I mean, there is some credit women wrestlers get for their time in Japan, and I think sometimes people think, well, you better be good, and then they see them and they see some things that don't translate as well in their style. Do you agree with Derek, Kurt, that that's at all an issue with Julia at this point?
I don't think so. I mean, Io Sky's from Japan and people react to her. Asuka's from Japan and people react to her.
I think the argument is that those two are better than Julia at the things that matter more in WWE than in Japan. That's kind of the I think the gist.
Oh yeah, that's true, because even though Io Sky doesn't really speak English, she does have, like, you know, a charisma, a personality where she does the thing and all that. Yeah, Julia doesn't really have that, at least right now, but who knows, she can grow to have that as the months go on when she's on the main roster. And look, she's still relatively new to the main roster. It's going to take her time to really get comfortable and really, you know, click, because Roxanne Perez already had a head start with being in the Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, etc. So yeah, give her a little time, and if she still has these same problems in the next few months, then we could probably criticize it a lot more.
Yep. Yeah. You want to see growth. You want to see people get comfortable. I mean, that's part of what NXT does with wrestlers, is it helps them learn to do the things that are part of projecting to a big arena and also the TV cameras at the same time, and compare favorably to women who have come before them who have great ring entrances, great ring gear, and know how to connect both with the live crowd, get a reaction, and then translate that to the TV audience. And that's part of the art form. It's not just moves. It's not just being athletic. But I don't think Julia's jumped out as lagging terribly in that way. But I could imagine somebody going, oh, all the hype, and look at her, she still has a ways to go. But if there's some things to clean up or add, I mean, like you said, there's time for that. This is not a point where you start going, oh, she doesn't have it. It's never going to work. Although Andy, the Mario and Sonic fan 2000, said, I don't get the hype for Julia. So
I see that.
Yeah, when you get built up and you come from Japan, there's going to be a group of people, and I understand it, who are like, okay, all the people who, you know, it's like you talk about bands earlier, you know, oh, there's this band I've been seeing in front of 120 people at this small club. They're great. Then they go to the venue that holds 600. I'm thinking of 7th Street Entry and First Avenue here in Minneapolis that are attached, and I've seen that with bands. And that doesn't translate in front of 600-800 people as well. And you've been talking them up, but the room is bigger and it doesn't work. Or you take it to the next step. They play that First Avenue well, but they don't play at the Orpheum and certainly not at the arena. The type of show is different when it's less intimate and you're less of an underdog. And it happens basically, I'm saying it happens in a lot of forms of entertainment, including rock music.
Yeah, definitely. Even with like a lot of the NXT talent we've seen in the past, like they really clicked well in NXT. People were really into them. Like I think of like the No Way Jose character from a couple years ago, who had like the Conda line and all that. It clicked in NXT, but then when he got to the main roster, it just wasn't the same vibe. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of the performer or it just doesn't resonate. But yeah, sometimes it happens that way where they just don't connect with the bigger audience as opposed to the smaller audience. And only time will tell if that's the same case for Julia.
A couple other comments in the chat. One, Brock Benningfield said she wasn't in NXT long enough to evaluate her. Derek Hubbard said, Asuka and Io are great. They move with a purpose. So far, I've not seen this with Julia. The assumption that all Japanese women are the same and they're all great is a false narrative. They should all be judged in fairness to them individually, and different people have different strengths and weaknesses and come along at a different pace. Standard Deviation says Julia has yet to find a way to show emotion without speaking. Unlike Asuka and Io, she has plenty of time though. So there we go. Okay, moving on to another topic here. We had the cage match tomorrow, so we should focus on things on Saturday's main event for sure that were part of the show. And we had Drew McIntyre showing entering the building. Damian Priest attacks him. Damian Priest coming out for a promo, and then Drew attacks him later in the show. Wild pull-apart brawls. Do you like that this is one of the matches on Saturday night's main event? Do you think this is it? Is this the blow-off match tomorrow night? And did it, with all the talking they've done, and it's been good in the video packages and promos, would it have been overkill to have them talk tonight? Like, or is it overkill to have them brawl again? Like, how did this work for you?
I thought it worked well. I mean, it's really a blood feud considering what's been going on between the two of them the last few months. As far as tomorrow night's match, I sincerely hope it's a blow-off considering that it's a cage match. But with it being Saturday night's main event and the feud kind of like still being kind of hot, there is a chance we can get another non-finish. But God, I hope not. For a cage match, with these two, yeah, this definitely needs to be the highlight of the whole show. I think it will be along with the tag match. Yeah, this better be like the standout match on the show, and they better be given a lot of good time and a lot of time to really work with. And I think that's probably a reason why we're only getting 4 matches as opposed to 5 on this show. So hopefully they're able to really tell a compelling story, and it's like a proper blow off to this feud. And hope we come out of it talking about like, yo, that Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest cage match, that's probably one of the best Saturday night's main event matches I've ever seen. I usually go into these shows expecting it to be some house show type stuff and nothing really special. But hey, that match was special. I hope that happens tomorrow night. And if it doesn't, then having it as a cage match honestly is a waste.
Well, Azan White says it's time for a Drew babyface turn. What do you like? What is best next for? I mean, Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre both had a really nice year and a half. Most of that has been interacting with each other and eventually feuding with each other for a while. Are they both positioned well coming out of this? And what do you think they should do coming out of this?
I think Drew McIntyre, I was going to say if Cody was still the champion, he should feud with Cody. But since Cody is the MIA right now, I think he would probably be best suited, maybe feuding with LA Knight for a little while. Not a long feud, but like at least maybe a feud for like a good month or so. And then eventually maybe he can move on to a feud with Cody whenever he does come back. Because I figure Cody's going to probably come back sometime over the summer. And that's like a feud they haven't really done. So I feel like that would definitely be a good use for him. If he's not going to turn babyface, I think that's the best thing you could do for him to keep him like, you know, relevant and keep him like in a main event level spot. As far as Damian Priest is concerned, I think him and Jacob Fatu could have a feud. Yeah, I could see him probably winning tomorrow night, and then he's like in a number 1 contender for the United States title. And him and Jacob Fatu could have some killer matches over the summer.
When it comes to Drew and Cena, my understanding at some point was that was going to be the post-WrestleMania program for Drew and Cody. Excuse me, I said Cena. We'll get to Cena in a second. So I think at one point that was penciled in. It does not mean that's still in the plans. It could be totally abandoned, but it was on their mind of something to do if they didn't end up doing what they did with Cena and the heel turn and the title change and all that. Don't have a super lay of the land of exactly how it's going to happen, but I think it's it tells us that Paul Levesque thinks highly of Drew, and they think they have something for him big, that they would likely have something big for him next because his performance has been so good. And extending the Priest feud is more just because they're trying to fill time till they get to the next chapter. So someone in the chat said, let me see if I can find it here, that Drew McIntyre versus John Cena is a money match. Azan White said that. And someone else noted that could be the closing feud. Oh, Derek Hubbard said, I could see John Cena's last match as him playing the classic babyface, because some think he should and will turn back before he retires. And Drew McIntyre would be the perfect top fresh heel opponent to face him for his true final retirement match. I think that's more likely to be Cody in a face-face matchup, or Cena still heel, or CM Punk. For whatever reason, Drew just misses out on being in a match of that stature, like over and over, or there's a pandemic, or they just don't quite put him in that spot, which would be this massive moment, the last match of John Cena's career. But do you like that possibility? And if so, what are the odds of it even happening?
I like the possibility it could happen, or it's possible that Drew could turn babyface in a feud with Cena still being the heel. That could also be a possibility. But yeah, I definitely hope that Drew gets like a marquee level match, like at SummerSlam at least. Because yeah, he's been doing so great with his work, his feuds. Yeah, whatever they ask him to do, he does. And yeah, he definitely deserves to be rewarded with something along those lines. Will it happen? It's possible that it might not, but he definitely deserves it, and I sincerely hope that it does. Yeah, a feud with Cena before he retires. Yeah, I definitely think that could definitely work, whichever side they end up playing. And yeah, let's see if it actually does happen. But a feud with Cody is definitely something I want to see him do before he even turns face, if that does happen.
And I think it would be good for Cody because Drew has been so good on the microphone.
Yeah.
Standard deviation in the chat said Drew throwing out Brock at the Rumble was his moment, and then the world shut down. Derek Hubbard said Drew cutting promos on John Cena and John doing his classic style babyface rebuttals would be good TV. Rivers Westwood in the chat says, is Drew too good for his own good? Since he elevates everything around him, it's a waste to put him in as the top guy. He's the classic, he doesn't need the belt situation. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's true. I could definitely see like kind of like an Undertaker vibe from him where he doesn't really need to be the champion or like really need to be in that spot to like be a main eventer or to produce or to put on good feuds. So yeah, there's definitely some truth to that. But I at least hope even if he doesn't get like a long title reign or the title period, that he's at least like in, marquee main event matches, like main events at like, major PLEs, even WrestleMania specifically. Yeah, his work is too good and he's just too compelling where, you should exclude him from those things.
Fun comment. We talked about this on another show. BJF says, will they bring back the blue cage for the match on Saturday night's main event? Or would that be too distracting and gimmicky for a blood feud?
It's not coming back. I feel like I think the story I heard was that after Vince McMahon did that cage match with Stone Cold Steve Austin, he saw how much that cage hurt, so that's why they stopped using it after that. So yeah, I wouldn't get my hopes up too high for that coming back.
Yep. All right. Moving on. We had Michin and B-Fab against Piper Niven and Alba Fire, offspring of a battle and segment with Chelsea Green earlier in the night. Give me an update on what you think about Chelsea Green and her crew and how they're utilizing them. I continue to be thoroughly entertained by them because they're good at what they do. Do you think they're being utilized well and in a good spot on the card?
Yeah, definitely. Chelsea Green is exactly where she needs to be. I've been saying it for the last, I would say, 2 years or so. She is a great character. I'm not saying she's the best wrestler, although she is good at what she does, but just more than anything else, she is a great character, and giving her own stable, own people where she could play off of, yeah, that is perfect for her. And yeah, she did a good job with that U.S. title reign, and she was the perfect person to have as like that first women's U.S. champion. And yeah, she's like definitely one of the standout parts of the show. Like every time I see Chelsea Green come on the TV screen, I smile. Like I smiled, I laughed, I'm entertained the whole time. Yeah, she is the poster child, if I could describe it in any way, for sports entertainment, because she has that entertainment aspect of it down perfectly. Yeah, to be honest, yeah, she's one of my favorite parts of the show as far as the women goes. She always knocks it out of the park, regardless of what they ask her to do or what situation they ask her to be in. She always makes it work. And yeah, you gotta, appreciate somebody like that.
We're going to get to caller in a moment, but I want to throw Derek Hubbard's comment on the screen because this is my follow-up to the Chelsea Green in crew question is, Derek Hubbard, props to Michin. She's a strong worker, great bump taker. Her hot tag made the match. Azan White says Green should win the belt tomorrow, and Brock Benningfield says I love Chelsea Green. But as far as Michin goes, here's my next question for you. Michin, I'm surprised, but she's kind of a standout performer right now. I think she overachieves her place on the perception of her place on the depth chart in matches, and is a helpful person to be partners with B-Fab because she can carry most of the match. What do you think?
Yeah, I think she's fine. I think she definitely does a good job for the role she's in. I think she really shined in that feud with Chelsea Green last year with the whole dumpster match and all that. I think she really came off well in that scenario. And yeah, she's not somebody I see being in the main event mix or having a long title reign, but I definitely think she's a valuable baby face in the women's division, kind of like a Natalia or something along those lines. Yeah, she definitely plays a part, and yeah, she definitely has a good presentation to her. And God knows they could use some women's tag teams after they fired all those women a couple weeks ago. So yeah, her and B-Fab as a team, yeah, that could definitely work long term, and hopefully they can have a feud with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez over the next few months.
Before we move on from Chelsea Green, some chat comments. Standard Deviation said, I usually like Chelsea, but thought her crying after the match was too hokey even for her. Kurt?
It's fine. That's exactly how she's supposed to act. She's kind of like a Karen, so of course she's gonna cry, throw a fit, throw a tantrum, and all that jazz. Yeah, like I told you, I can't get enough of her. Like just on screen, she just always cracks me up every single time.
Some love for her in the chat. Derek Mitchell said Chelsea Green's a great character actress like Kristen Wiig on
Yes,
SNL. She can do
yes.
multiple characters. And BJF said Chelsea's a new Santina Morella, a nice little secondary title reign, and now an entertaining comedy character. Derek Mitchell adds about Michin. She earned her stripes last year and should continue in a supporting role. And I agree with that. All right, let's bring Thunder Sky Dancer onto the show for some comments and questions. Thunder, welcome. What's in your mind about tonight's SmackDown?
I really liked tonight's SmackDown. I have like two interesting questions. We're talking about the women's division, and when I looked at Charlotte tonight, I don't know if it was just the way she looked on screen or what, but it's like she did not want to be there. She wasn't enthused or anything like that. I don't know if it's the way her character sounded. Was they're doing something with her character or what? But the vibe was kind of off. And I don't know if anyone caught that, or maybe it's just me. But then I agree with you about Michin. I really loved Michin and B-Fab. I really want to keep them as a tag team. But I don't know. It's just I really like the depth that the women have on SmackDown more than I do on Raw, honestly. And that's saying something because I'm not usually a fan of the women in wrestling at all.
Kurt, you want to comment on either of those?
Yeah, I definitely noticed that, something's been off with Charlotte ever since she came back at the Royal Rumble. I hate to say it, I'm really getting 2022 Ronda Rousey vibes from her right now. Yeah, it just has not been clicking ever since she came back. I don't know if it's the personal stuff or just, the same old character she's playing, but yeah, something has been off with her, since she came back. I hope they figure it out. I hope she's, able to, get a hold on it. But until then, yeah, this has just not been working.
There was that moment with John Cena at SummerSlam, 2017. Kurt, is that right?
Which moment though?
John Cena and Baron Corbin.
Yeah, that was 2017. That's right.
I just need you to follow me around everywhere because I can just ask you dates and you can confirm
everything.
Yeah, I love it. So that's when I felt John Cena started showing signs of being kind of over it. But he had something else, going on. Like he was moving to the next chapter of his life and put in his time. We have to keep in mind with Charlotte, this wasn't her dream. It was Reed's dream, her brother. She wrestled kind of to fulfill his dream. And I think there's aspects of this she didn't sign up for. And I've been reporting on this for years that people backstage have said, she seemed, and it's become enough of a story, you can talk about it. She seemed not all there for years now behind the scenes, that there was a lot going on in her personal life, or her heart wasn't in it, or her heart wanted to be in it, but things kept coming up to distract her. And I don't have the whole diagnosis of it. But for it to manifest on screen where people are noticing it and reacting to her this way, I mean, Todd Martin on The Fix, the VIP podcast, a month or so ago, just said, maybe Charlotte, someone should take her off TV and let her get her life together, figure out what, because not that it's cruel to put her on TV, but it is distracting if the message being sent visually is what you're observing, Thunder, which is something's not right. Does she even want to be here?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have an answer.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, okay. So everything I'm curious about, the main event, really good. The Wyatt Six come back and clean house. How much? I don't know how to say this. With Bray Wyatt being gone, and with them continuing Wyatt Six, how much more can the Wyatt Six stay off TV and not cool off before they say, okay, we've had enough? You know what I mean?
I don't understand the question.
Well, okay, so for example, I mean, I know Bo's been out with an injury, and he come back, but then the others, it's like, why not have them there sporadically unless they don't have anything for them? But they could have kept him in the tag division. They could have done something with him without Bo Dallas.
So let me throw that to Kurt. Do you think the Wyatt Six would have been better off with some wrestlers injured or not being able to compete, staying on TV in some form consistently, especially to develop the supporting actors, so to speak, the supporting characters, or did it just sort of was it better to just take them off TV for as long as they did, make people think they might be gone, out of sight, out of mind, so when they show up on a show like this, it's fresh and they're ready to go all in with them again?
I think the latter. I think that was probably the better idea, considering if like one of them was injured, like if somebody's injured, like there's not really much you can do to work around that. Yeah, like it would have been nice to have them around, but it like it wouldn't like really have felt it special. It kind of like would have felt like, less than. So it made sense to kind of like, I guess, keep them away if that's the case. And I think the main reason why they probably debuted them tonight is actually today is Bray Wyatt's birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, I never thought about that.
I will say, I hope it was a good time to debut them besides it being his birthday. I hope, I don't think, I mean, it's nice.
It was a part of it though.
Yeah,
Right.
it's nice if it's a bonus, but I don't think you should book around, a particular person's birthday unless it's like a key part of the storyline. Like his birthday is like known, and that's like something that can drive, this sort of mystical, act that's kind of in a sort of a separate universe. I don't have a strong opinion on them right now. I like them. I liked them initially based on, I think Bo Dallas has potential, and I like the crew of supporting people is deep, and I think but I got disappointed that they did not do more with them. I just think there's more potential for that than they showed the first time. So
Right.
I think with an act like that, figure out what they're going to be, figure out where their strengths are, and then deliver week in and week out. And it doesn't have to be main event, but it can't be start and stop, and it can't seem super lower card, and give some attention to differentiate the different characters in the group. Like, I want to know more about them and how they interact and relate to each other. I don't think you can just have them show up and be spooky and turn the lights on and off and expect people to care. I hope they have more in mind for them than that.
Oh, that was my main point. It's like it's cooling off, and then the cooling off and coming back. And I understand that few of them are injured, and I respect that. But wow, I just wish they had more to do with them. Because they were so good with talent on that.
Yeah. What else, Sutter?
Let's see.
Azan White in the
can't
chat says, give a voice to Joe and Dexter. So there's a vote
I
for
would
that.
agree. Yeah, I would agree with that. Give a voice to Joe and Dexter.
And standard
I
one more
really
thing.
don't-
Sorry, standard deviation says I don't think there's more potential for them. The gimmick is inherently limiting, and the talents involved are a mishmash of lowered card talent. Derek Mitchell said the Wyatt Six is an ensemble cast. They need to reappear as a group and not fragmented. And so a variety of opinions. BJF, I'll throw in. It makes more sense to take them all off and bring them back together. It wouldn't have made such an impact of just how he came back after the others had floundered for months. So there's some feedback from the chat about your previous topic, Thunder. But go ahead.
Okay. The one last thing I was looking at was the Money in the Bank qualification triple threat matches, and I know Triple H, Paul Levesque or whatever you want to call him, is trying to do something different with the Money in the Bank. But do you think the triple threat kind of throws him in a corner, saying, "Okay, we know who's going to get pinned before the match. We may know who's going to win before the match even starts." Or do you think it hasn't gotten stale enough to where, okay, maybe they need to do something different?
Thanks, Thunder. Kurt, how do you think Levesque's handling the qualifying matches, the three-way concept, the idea of doing triple threat matches instead of one-on-one to qualify? Is that a worthwhile tradition to continue? And has it been well executed?
I think it's fine. I think it's kind of like, I guess, a way to get like more people on the show and I guess make the match more interesting, even though in most cases you know 9 times out of 10 who's going to win, who's going to get pinned. Although in the men's Money in the Bank, I was very surprised how that turned out. But in general, I don't mind the triple threat matches. Not all of them are going to be good, but overall, I think it's a useful way of getting people on the show and just to establish what the Money in the Bank is. And I was surprised LA Knight won. I thought for sure Aleister Black was going to win since he just came back, but considering that LA Knight won, it definitely something I didn't see coming. That's probably the biggest surprise other than Solo Sikoa qualifying so far.
Why do you think Aleister Black is not in this match, or are they going to have some last chance thing where some of these people lose and get in?
Maybe they have another feud planned for him. Maybe him and Carmelo Hayes and Miz will still feud for a little longer. So that's the only explanation I can think of. Yeah,
and Nakamura, they're framing him with vignettes as if he's a star, but he's there to kind of lose and be a legacy act who loses. And I'm fine with that at this stage for him. Cool. Thunder, anything else you want to quick bring up?
more quick thing. Do you think LA Knight needs the title in the next 2 years?
He needs to what in that? Oh, a title?
Needs the title, needs the heavyweight title, or maybe something.
He's not. He's not heavyweight title level. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being really popular as a top of the second tier guy. Kurt, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think he's really good at the Intercontinental United States title level. I think that's the perfect ceiling for him. He can still have a great career, be a Hall of Famer and all that. Not everybody who's a star who gets those crazy reactions needs to win the title, and I think that's the case for him.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thunder, thanks. Appreciate
guys.
it. Yeah, always good hearing from you.
Have a good one.
Yep, you too. Yep, take care. All right, Kurt, a couple other things here. We talked about the three-way and LA Knight. Any thoughts on the quality of the match and the way that they interacted with each other? Were there any key spots in the match, or because that's a intriguing mix, having Shinsuke and Aleister Black share the ring, and then LA Knight such a different character. Did you like the way that they were all framed and interacted with each other in that context?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was the best qualifying match on the show tonight, even though there was only two. Yeah, I thought it was
the better.
Yeah, definitely the better one. And I like the ending. I especially like the ending where it looked like Aleister was going to win, but then LA Knight threw him out of the ring, and then LA took advantage and got the win. Yep. Yeah, it was definitely a fun match. I think it definitely, had more suspense and had you on the edge of your seat, even though you knew Nakamura wasn't going to win the damn match. But yeah, I definitely thought it was fun. I thought it delivered, and we'll see what other good matches they have in store for us in the next 2 weeks.
It's a type of finish where even though Black didn't advance, you protected him because he could have had to win. But all's fair, obviously, in that match with that setting. Let's talk about Jacob Fatu, JC Mateo, and Solo Sikoa. That weave throughout the show. The dynamic with Fatu and Solo has been interesting. I love you, Solo. I love you, Solo. He said it tonight for the first time. Solo looks at JC Mateo and says the first time he said that to me in like 6 months. Mm-hmm. Tell me what you think about this story, the way they're telling it, and where do you think it's headed?
I think it's headed to Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa at SummerSlam. I thought it was going to happen in WrestleMania, but they went in the direction they did with Solo getting the United States title. So yeah, this is definitely going to be like a slow build over the next few months. This is kind of reminding me of when The Rock added Mark Henry to the Nation of Domination and Farouk was upset about it. I'm kind of getting some of the vibes from this storyline. So yeah, they're going to kind of like build this over the next few months where Jeff Cobb, I'll call him that for now, like he's trying to gain the trust of Jacob Fatu. He's trying to do things to gain the trust, but then I think that's going to lead to him and Solo turning on him, and that'll build to a SummerSlam match. But I'm all here for it. It's just so crazy how like around this time a year ago, we thought like Solo Sikoa was going to be the breakout star. He was going to be the main eventer. And then once Jacob Fatu debuted in that new bloodline, he like from the very first night, he outshined him and has been outshining him ever since.
I think there were signs that Solo wasn't going to be a top guy even before that, but boy, did Jacob Fatu just amplify that reality. He just leaps off the screen. He is such a star. I mean, the people who had seen him in MLW and elsewhere, Rich Fan was one of them, just going, this guy's a star. If you can, live with his past, if you can reconcile that and bring him in and, you think he'll be a good part of your company, do it. And those people who touted him for a long time are right. And he is showing them up. Jeff Cobb, not considered a top-level guy in Japan. This is not a case of a highly touted, oh my God, wait till he gets to WWE, he's going to take the world by storm. But he had a rough week last week. Didn't look good in the match. There wasn't anything particularly distinguished about him. Dwayne Carpenter in the chat says, JC looked much better this week. Jeff Cobb, JC Mateo. What do you think of him last week? And do you think he had a better week? And does it sort of work? I mean, he's not going to be a main event act with Solo, but I think ultimately, did he show you he can be a good fit to be to occupy Jacob Fatu in a logical way with someone who can ultimately lose to him, but have a banger in the meantime?
I think he's good in the role as kind of being more the sidekick. I guess he's basically the person to fill the void with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa being out. Yep. That's kind of more of the role I see him in. I think last week's match, it didn't really stand out to me. It was nothing to write home about. But this week was definitely a lot better. And I think a big reason why it was a lot better was because of the fact that he had 3 other people to work with as opposed to just one. And probably there was probably a chemistry factor that went along with it too. But yeah, I think he worked fine tonight. I think the match was the second best match in the show. And yeah, I think he's definitely good for his role for being more of the sidekick as opposed to being a main eventer. I definitely did not get the vibe from him when he debuted at Backlash that I got from Jacob Fatu when he first debuted, or even Tama Tonga when he first debuted for that matter. So I think his role is fine for what it is. And yeah, see what comes out of it.
Some comments in the chat. Brock Benningfield says Jacob Fatu is undeniable. BJF says Jacob Fatu is a star. Dwayne Carpenter says the Tongas were sort of the new bloodline jobbers. I feel sorry for them that they both got hurt. Now they're afterthoughts. No, they'll be back. JC and Fatu look strong together, and Solo feels more distinct as the brains of the group without Paul. And Derek Mitchell says, yeah, Jacob Fatu's star power is undeniable. Already one of the best from the NOI family. So, yes, just some underlining of some of the points we're making and agreements there. Fatu's a year from now. Kurt, where is he? There's a lot of top talent in WWE. Is he tied essentially for a top tier guy? I mean, at the level of CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, like, is he in that mix, or do you think they have him slotted above LA Knight, but not quite at like CM Punk, even Drew McIntyre level? Like, where do you think he fits in about a year from now?
A marquee match at WrestleMania. I think even at WrestleMania next year, a match I want to see is Jacob Fatu against Braun Breaker. I think they could definitely tell a good story with that. I think that could definitely be like one of the marquee matches next year. Yeah, between the two of them, they're both going to be like in main event level matches by WrestleMania next year. There's no way that does not happen. If it doesn't, God forbid, yeah, they slipped up. Either they slipped up or the company slipped up. But yeah, from what I'm seeing right now with both of them are headed to that main event level within 1 year from now.
Quick thoughts on how they're using Jimmy Uso right now and tonight in this team with Rey Fenix. Any thoughts?
Jimmy Uso is basically the Matt Hardy to Jey Uso's Jeff Hardy. That's basically the best way I could describe him right now. He's a good character on the show. He'll get his wins every once in a while, but realistically, so we don't see him like, winning championships, being in main events. I think kind of like has his ceiling right now, and it's fine. Not everybody's going to be a star. Sometimes in tag teams, one person from the tag team makes it further than the other, and I kind of feel like that's kind of what's happening with Jimmy and Jey Uso. But he's fine. He still has a great career. He's still, I'm sure, making great money. He's been involved in compelling storylines, and yeah, he's good.
We got a video package on Bianca Belair tonight.
Oh yes.
What do you make of the direction her character was going, what they did, and then the hand injury since? I mean, it seemed like we're not going to land in the same place that was planned, or maybe not. What do you think?
Well, I like the video. She definitely came out very sympathetic. If the crowd still boos her after that, I'm gonna really rethink what the hell is going on in this world. But
I already am, but yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing her back next week. And now that I think about it, I think she's gonna play a role in that triple threat with the women for the qualifying match with Naomi, Jade, and Nia Jax. I think definitely she's gonna play some kind of role in that match in one way or another.
Yep. All right. I guess we're to the main event. We talked about the finish, but we didn't give much attention to the match itself. A battle of two essentially babyface teams. I mean, the Street Profits, more of an edge. Fraxium, new kids on the block, super enthusiastic. The match went quite a long time. I don't have a exact timestamp on it, but it was they gave you a long match. So I guess I got a couple questions I kind of want to go with, but the Street Profits, what about their journey since, I don't know, in the last month or so, where it seemed like they're trying different things with them? What are we supposed to think about them now? That they're the same as they always were, they just have a little bit more edge to them, or have they grown up or changed or moved into a different lane as people? Like what vibes are they giving off that are intentional in terms of their characters? Because I have a tough time even formulating the question, because they're different, but I don't know quite where to place them. They're different, but almost in the same spot, I guess is maybe a way to put it.
I think they definitely got elevated to that next level after that TLC match last month. I definitely noticed there was something different with them. Honestly, all three teams in that match. And yeah, I think they're definitely on a good path right now. They're definitely in a much better place now than they were about 6 months ago. And yeah, I just hope it leads to bigger and better things for them. I hope they're actually on PLEs for a change, because it's been a long damn time since they have been on one. And yeah,
well, what's different about them than 6 months ago?
For one, they're the champions. For two, they have more of an edge than they did 6 months ago. They definitely feel more, I would say, they feel like more of a top team than they did before. Because I feel like 6 months ago, they were more a good team that was in the mix. But now they feel like the team and the measuring stick. But I do think a heel turn would serve them well. I think that definitely would, add a little bit more to them, and it would be like a new role for them because they've never been heels as far as I've been watching them. So yeah, definitely something like that, kind of like on a lot like the lines of Edge and Christian, like when they started doing those TLC matches. I think that could be something that works for them. But yeah, ever since that TLC match they had last month, they've definitely felt like a much bigger deal than they were before. It's just a damn shame that match didn't take place at WrestleMania because that would have really elevated them even more.
Do you think Fraxium have a likelihood to latch on as a top team, or do you think this is the flavor of the month and they'll just kind of move down into the mix with others?
I think only time will tell. I think within the next, like I would say, maybe 3 or 4 months or so, we can maybe answer that question. But as far as right now, I think they're doing well. I don't see them getting the titles yet because I think the Street Profits are too hot. But I definitely think they could be a team that's in the mix. I think now it seems like they're kind of like taking the place of the
Machine Guns.
Not the Machine Guns, no, the other team, the Pretty Boys.
Pretty Deadly?
Pretty Deadly, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Pretty Deadly. It kind of feels like they're filling the void of them right now.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe they can catch on more. Maybe they could be more in that mix. But until then, yeah, we have to wait and see.
BJF says, I don't know if I should cheer or boo the Street Profits. I like them, but I don't know what I'm supposed to feel about them. The whole Shades of Grey not working with them. Remember, we're trying to not use the term Shades of Grey because it's triggering and it means different things to different people. We want to look for new words to describe it because I think people use that term and mean different things by it. So see if you can use other words for it. That's a shout out to everybody to try that. I'm going to do the same because I feel like people were saying Shades of Grey and it meant different things to different people, and therefore people who might agree sound like they disagreed because of what that term morphed into in different ways. Dwayne Carpenter says, turn the Profits heel and add a heel Bianca to their act. Ryan Solorio says, Bianca turns on Jade? ? I'm still curious if they do revisit that and if they have a conclusion to that, or they've decided Naomi stepped up and they're in a good place and they're just going to split her off from that. I don't know. I mean, it seems impossible not to, and not to revisit that in some form or fashion, but I don't know ultimately where it goes.
Yeah, they need to revisit that. They need to definitely do something with that. Since Bianca's coming back next week, I definitely see her getting involved in that match. I'm calling it right now.
And, I mean, a big match with Nia Jax, Jade Cargill, and Naomi next week. That's a big qualifying match for the women.
Huge.
Yeah.
Hoping Naomi wins.
Yep. Okay, one thing I skipped past, not a huge deal, but they did the dinner conversation that was teased last week with Santos Escobar, Humberto, and Angel Garza. We got 3 camera angles, but I'll credit them. It looked like it could have been 3 cameras shooting live rather than spliced together afterwards because there weren't angles where you would have seen the camera if it was all shot at once. Like they had a little discipline there to make it feel more realistic. But we did get the dramatic score, the movie score underneath that matched the words, and it's still a little much for me. I mean, I see why they do it, but it felt very like melodramatically overproduced for me. But like I said, part of me kind of gets why they do it because they're like, do people really want to sit and watch a pre-recorded segment of 3 people talking around a table with no audience and all that? We need to, spice it up a little bit. What do you think of the angle and the dynamic, especially with Humberto seeming to be still on the path? We're supposed to believe he's on the path to splitting off from Angel and sort of his mentor or leader in Santos. What do you think of that story? And then what did you think about the presentation, the choice of how to present it tonight as a lead into a 6-man tag match at When Worlds Collide?
I like the presentation. Honestly, yeah, I really like the way they put this together. It kind of gave me vibes of Narcos Mexico. And yeah, I definitely like what they're building towards. It's definitely something for them to do as opposed to just like being a team that loses every week and doesn't do much and like you're not really invested in. I'm just really mad they released the girl that was a part of the group. I forgot her name, but yeah, I remember the girl that was a part of the group. They released her a few months ago. I think she could have definitely been a good part of the story, but unfortunately, she's not around anymore. But yeah, I'm glad that they're actually doing something with Legado del Fantasma, actually some kind of storyline that people can actually get invested in. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I might even try to check out Worlds Collide, considering that they have this match coming up. And I think probably there is where everything's going to implode from the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah. All right. Kurt, is there anything else you want to bring up in chat? This is your last chance to... Electra Lopez, by the way, was the name.
Yes, that was true.
Thank you, Ryan Solorio. Is there anything else you want to bring up from the show? And same to the chat room. This is your last chance to throw a topic out there if you want us to cover it before we sign off.
I'm just looking forward to Saturday night's main event tomorrow night. I know we've kind of like been conditioned to, see what these shows have turned out to be. But even with that aside, even if it is kind of predictable and like more house show vibes, I still find it fun. I still enjoy it for what it is. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the cage match. I really have high hopes for that cage match and that tag match with Punk and Zayn against Breakker and Rollins. And that match better have a damn finish, because these Rollins and Breakker matches, ever since they started teaming up, have all been like disqualifications, no contest, getting thrown out. They need to win that match tomorrow, no questions asked. And if they don't, and they do some crazy like disqualification brawl to end the show or whatever, I am going to be hot. I'm going to be hot.
Yes. By the way, Brock Benningfield wants to know, will there be a wrestling night in America tomorrow after Saturday night's main event? Unlikely. That we'll be doing a post show after that. It's a strong 4-match lineup for Saturday's main event. It does feel big, but I don't think we're going to be able to work it into our schedule. But if we do, we'll let you know. Set your alert for notifications. If you see a show up as scheduled on the PWTorch YouTube channel, then you will know that we changed our mind or found a way to make it work right afterwards. So as always, we ask you to like this show, comment below, and subscribe to our channel. I take a look at those comments, and I actually read one of them to Eric Roll today on our AEW Double or Nothing preview show from the YouTube comments area. I have done some interaction on there too with people when they bring up topics that I think are sparking some good conversation. So yeah, check that out, and you can set an alert that'll let you know when we are going live as part of our live YouTube shows. Don't forget, search Wade Keller in your podcast app, subscribe to the Red and Blue Logo Show, search PWTorch, and subscribe to the PWTorch Daily Cast, and also our PWTorch VIP free sample feed. Both of those will pop up. As always, check out my written reports on Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, and also Double or Nothing this Sunday at PWTorch.com, or for VIP members, the ad-free version at PWTorchVIP.com. I am here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights, and Sunday night we will have a Wrestling Night in America after AEW Double or Nothing. If you are not a VIP member, I'll close with that plug. You can get a free 7-day trial through Patreon or Spotify. Just search PWTorch, and you can get a 7-day free trial for our VIP podcast lineup. That's commercial-free versions of this show where the commercial breaks are skipped right past, and then all our VIP exclusive shows, which includes The Fix with Todd Martin that I host with Todd, Everything with Rich Fan that I host with Rich, our post-pay-per-view roundtables, including Sunday night's Double or Nothing, Wade Keller Hotlines, where I do a start-to-finish review of Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. So if you don't see the show or you want to hear what I think about everything start to finish, you can use that. You can listen to that before. It's like 15, 20 minutes or so usually. And you can use that as kind of a primer for these post shows back-to-back, especially if you're not watching the shows and you kind of want to know what we're talking about, since we don't always recap everything in the context of this analysis format. That also includes our 18 years ago VIP podcast vaults. Some great content there on almost a daily basis, and so much more I could get into. You can get full details on all VIP features, including how to get a full VIP membership, unlocking access to our archives, our customizable RSS feed on Apple Podcasts and other popular podcast apps on iOS and Android. There, I said it. Go to pwtorch.com/govip, pwtorch.com/govip. We'd love to have you as a member, a VIP member, and join a great community of wrestling fans who appreciate our approach to covering wrestling. And also, you can dive into that library, which dates back to the late 1980s, and see what I and others were writing about in real time about the biggest stories in professional wrestling the last 35, going on 40 years. That's crazy sounding. pwtorch.com/govip. Thanks again, Kurt. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes.
Oh, and when you go VIP, you get Kurt's Show with Chris, too. Our newest lineup on the lineup. So even more reason to go VIP. All right, we'll talk to y'all later. Thanks, people. Have a great weekend.